All right, today we are starting CO13. I can write a value as both a mixed number and an improper fraction. To start off with, we need to know what those mixed numbers and fractions definitions are. So our mixed number is a number that has a whole number So it has a whole number part and a fraction part. A proper fraction is a fraction whose numerator is less than the denominator. And we have our improper fraction is a fraction whose numerator is greater than or equal to its denominator. So the mixed number has a whole number and a fraction. The proper fraction has a numerator less than the denominator, and the improper fraction has a numerator that's greater than or equal to the denominator. So an example of these would be for a mixed number, we could say 1 1/5. We have our whole number and a fraction. A proper fraction would be that 1/5. An improper fraction would be 7/5, because that 7 is bigger than the 5. Writing mixed numbers as improper fractions. To write a mixed number as an improper fraction, multiply the whole number part and the denominator, and you add the numerator. Then you write that sum over the denominator. That denominator always stays the same. So let's look at what that looks like. So we have 3 3/4. What we want to do is we want to multiply, we want to multiply that whole number denominator. So 4 times 3 is 12, and then we add our numerator to it. 4 times 3 is 12, plus 3 gives us 15, and your denominator stays the same. So again, we have 1 2/5. So we're going to multiply our denominator by our whole number, and we add our numerator. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 2 is 7. Denominator stays the same. So you multiply denominator by the whole, and then you add it to the numerator. To write an improper fraction as a mixed number, we're going to do reverse. It says divide the numerator by the denominator and write any remainder as a fraction. So we multiplied to make it improper. So now to make it proper, we have to divide out. How many times can we divide it out? So if we look at 17/3, how many times can we divide a 3 out of 17? You can take a 3 out how many times, Nolan? 5 times. So if we had 17 divided by 3 and we took that 5 out, 5 times 3 is 15. We're going to subtract it. 17 minus 15, we have 2 left over. So we subtract, because up here we added, so now we're subtracting. We're just doing the opposite. So 17 minus that 15 was 2. Denominator stays the same. So you're seeing how many times you can divide out that denominator out of your numerator. That becomes your whole number. What's left over, your remainder, becomes the new numerator. Denominator stays the same. Let's do another one. 15 sevenths. So how many times can we divide 7 out of 15? Well, we can take that 7 out 2 times. Because if we had 15 divided by 7, 2 times 7 is 14. Now we're doing that subtracting. 15 minus 14, we have 1 left over. 1 becomes our new numerator, and our denominator stays the same. So now we have comparing mixed numbers and fractions. Well, it's kind of hard to compare when we don't have a common denominator. So we're going to make them, first thing you're going to do is make them all improper. So if you have one improper and one mixed number, make them improper. Or actually, you could make it as a mixed number. You could do it either way. You could look to see, should I do mixed numbers or should I do improper? Mixed numbers gives us smaller numbers. So you're going to want to look at those mixed numbers. So if we have 19/6, what mixed number would 19/6 be? Nolan?
3.
A whole number of 3. And what fraction?
6 divide.
So 19/6, if we take 6 out 3 times, what are we left with?
Yeah, 1.
We have 1 left over because 3 times 6 was 18. 19 minus 18 is 1. Denominator stays the same. So we have 3 and 1/6, and we have 3 and 5/12. Well, they have the same whole number. Sometimes you'll get a different whole number, and it's really easy. They have different whole numbers. You can see right away which one's greater and which one's less than. They're the same whole number. So now we want to look at common denominators. So we don't need to worry about that whole number. They're the same. Fractions, our common denominator would be 12. To go from 6 to 12, we multiplied by 2. 1 times 2 is 2. So I have 3 and 2/12 and 3 and 5/12. Is 19/6 less than or greater than?
Less than.
It is less than, because that 2 numerator is less than the 5 numerator. So here we have 14/3. 14/3 would be what mixed number? Nolan?
4.
Yep, we can take that 3 out 4 times, and how many are left over, Nolan?
2.
2, so it would be 4 2/3, and we're comparing that to 4 3/5. Can I compare those easily?
Nope.
What do I have to do?
See what they
Well,
change it into numbers.
they are mixed numbers. So I have 4 2/3 and 4 3/5.
You have to change them into common denominators.
Yeah, we need those common denominators so we can compare them. So our common denominator between our 3 and our 5 would be 15. So I have to multiply by a 3 by 5 to get 15. So 2 times 5 is 10. For this one, I multiply the 5 by 3. 3 times 3 is 9. So I have 10/15 versus 9/15. Is 14/3 less than or greater than 4 3/5?
Greater than.
It is greater than because my 10 is bigger than the 9. So you've got to break it down and go step by step when we are comparing these mixed numbers and improper fractions. The last thing we're doing is ordering mixed numbers and fractions. Same thing. First thing you have to do is you have to know what the whole numbers are. Sometimes those whole numbers make it easy to know where they come. So we've got 2 7/8. I'm just going to rewrite them so they're easier to see. Oh, 16/5. I want to rewrite that as a mixed number. What would 16/5 be, Will? 3 1/5. And then I have 2 3/4. So I can see easily what my least number is. How can I see easily what my least number is, Brielle? Yeah, it's just a 2. So anything that's above a 2, if it's 2 with a fraction, if it's a 3, it's going to be bigger. So my first number is going to be 2. Can I see easily what my last number is going to be? Yeah, because there's only one 3. All the rest are 2s. So my 3 is going to be at the end, 3 1/5. So that leaves me with 2 7/8 and 2 3/4 to compare. I don't have to change them all to common denominators, just those 2, because I could easily see where my first and my last were in this one. So let's look at 7/8 versus 3/4. Oh, and I shouldn't have actually put 3 1/5 here. Should have put 16/5 because you should always put what the given fraction was, what the given value is. So between 7/8 and 3/4, we know that 8 is our common denominator. To go from 4 to 8, we multiply by a 2. 3 times 2 is 6. Which one would be our second least greatest value? 2 7/8 or 2 3/4?
2 3/4.
2 3/4 because that 6/8 is smaller than 7/8. So when you come to the ordering, don't overwork yourself. Don't make it too complicated. If you can easily see where some of the values fall, you don't have to convert the fractions and find those common denominators. Sometimes you can just compare them to a half. 7/8 and 3/4 are not easy to compare to a half because they both are between the half and the 1. So then we had to do that common denominator. But if one was less than a half and one was greater than a half, doesn't matter if you're looking at common denominators or not, you are going to know which one is the smaller fraction and which one is the bigger fraction. Our assignment for today is our workbook page 51 and 52. So workbook 5152, working with those improper fractions, mixed numbers.